Okay. Um, yeah, so some new people coming or people joining. I'm so honored to be invited to be at your lunch today and among all of you who do so much for this community. And I first came across your work uh, with the Millennium Trail here. And when I first started coming to the county in 2011, um, I was visiting a farm just down from the Hillier Trail stop, the old station there in Hillier. And I experienced, it was my first sort of chance to work with Barry Davidson and Bear and the PEC Trails Committee, um, and realizing how committed people here are to the land, to being creative, being entrepreneurial, protecting the rural farming heritage, to being outside, caring for others, and caring for the more than human world. And this really aligned so well with my practice as a landscape architect and person who is an advocate for environmental protection. And now that I'm living here, I'm starting to do more work in the county and around in the areas around. One of my first moves to learn about this place that I was visiting and now live here was to use the Millennium Trail as a laboratory. Exploring and scheming on ways to celebrate the trail and bring artists into this linear landscape to encourage people to think differently about public space. I wondered how we could slow down in this movement corridor, to pause, to observe what's happening around us, to bring people together along the trail in ways other than just moving from A to B. This was all during COVID, and I got a grant from the county foundation. And I did two projects that some of you may have heard about or experienced yourselves. So the first one was Join Our Herd with the Department of Illumination. And it was a joyful celebration of the animal spirit within all of us. And we dressed up ourselves and our bodies and our bikes like animals, kids and families and everybody. And we biked for a section along the Millennium Trail. And I think we did some kind of celebratory dance at Parsons Brewery in the end. It was really fun. And then the other one was Walking with Thunder with Conrad Beaubien, sort of an opposite, slow, meditative experience with an artist and a donkey named Thunder along the trail. So both of them were a way for me to sort of get to know a place that I was starting to visit and now live here. And as a landscape architect, understanding this really amazing 48 kilometers of public space. But today I want to talk about Delhi Park. And I'm assuming you all know where Delhi Park is, right? Pretty much right in the middle of the county. This is work that my studio, VTLA studio, is doing in collaboration with the county and many residents and neighborhood groups. Pranica was part of an advisory committee that contributed to our work. And it was an amazing experience and a contract with the county to revitalize this hidden jewel. 31 acres of green space, an opportunity to raise awareness for the Marsh Creek landscape as an example of the county's cultural heritage and to advocate for path upgrades, focusing on accessibility, connectivity, public safety, and active transportation so we can walk and bike all through the park. I expect many of you know this view from the Mary Street parking lot. We presented this plan. There's a lot of details here, but I'll share more about the details later. But this was a schematic design plan of pathway upgrades for accessibility, lighting, seating, tree cover, to enable everyone to be able to access the park from all sides of the park. And this was presented to council in June and approved as a project of community interest. There's no money attached to this decision to support this plan, but staff were directed to look for grants and to raise money. And I'm happy to raise awareness in community groups like yours to see how we can make this plan happen. We did a 7-month public engagement process with lots of community members, stakeholder groups, adjacent property owners, different committees of council, different task teams, very thorough review, and we walked everywhere. This map shows a connected network of pathways that exist, and we call them desire lines. And these are the pathways that people have used over generations to get in and out and through the park, from the heights, from the library, from town, from the cemetery, and you all know them. They're sort of trampled lawn, gravel, sort of awkward, trompsing down the slope, sort of making your way through. And so we wanted to map these out and honor these paths, because these are really ways that people are using the park, and they're like the direct routes. When someone designs a path and you really think, well, I don't go that way, I go this way, and that's called a desire line. And so we mapped all those out first as part of our site analysis. And from there, we wanted to use those and propose a network of paths that were upgraded. So now they're accessible. You can, for wheelchairs, strollers, like handrails when the slope gets too much, and surfaces that are graded and even. The work was celebrating the cultural and natural heritage of the park, the geological formation of the valley escarpment. As you know, Delhi Park is a valley escarpment with the Marsh Creek running through. And also to honor the pre-colonial story of this landscape and imagine all the possibilities in the years to come as Picton grows. Every landscape has a story, but as far as we can tell, there isn't one that shares the story of Delhi Park and the Marsh Creek Valley landscape. So we pieced together some elements of a timeline here, talking to different people, which is up on the slide here. But the full story of Delhi Park is yet to be told. And we're excited to be part of this, building a story of Delhi Park. The Marsh Creek Valley is a landscape with a history that predates the arrival of the Loyalist settlers, as I was saying. It also predates many of the county's built heritage. Its story is first as a watercourse used for portage and trade, and then a connected part of Picton's legacy as a busy industrial port. And actually, just a point of interest, the boats from Picton Harbor came right up into the park. I'll show a map later. Some people are saying all the way to Bowery Street. So you can see how different the landscape is today, and imagine how it was as a busy industrial deep water port. Then for 80 years, it became the Picton Town Dump. And then became a public park connected to 2 cemeteries, and, as you know, to the surrounding and growing town of Picton. So this study that we did, I don't know what's next. Oh yes, so interesting, the name comes from Delhi, or Delhi, which is a neighborhood of Picton near the port. This is a archival photo of the Delhi neighborhood that Delhi Park is named after. Marsh Creek landscape that goes through. This is just one of our site photos at this time of year. And then some maps, some old maps. You can see here, Delhi Park is the marsh landscape that shows, I don't know if I can show. anyway, can you see the marsh graphic with the Marsh Creek? Whoa, I don't know. There. But you can see how much of a floodplain it is, and why, as many towns did, wanted to fill it with as the Picton town dump. Okay, so the Delhi Park Connections Plan, we thought, is an incredible opportunity to show how the park can have a role in the county's sense of place as an amphitheater of public life, a respite from the developments that are happening around us. It's important that we protect this public green space. But what's happened is 40 years since the park was opened in 1984, there's really been nothing done. So you can see the lighting needs work, the benches are collapsing, there's no picnic tables, there's no washrooms. Like, the list of what's not there is long, but the potential is huge. And not only that, I'm hoping that we can consider Delhi Park and the whole Marsh Creek landscape in the ongoing Cultural Heritage Master Plan process that's going on now. And you can all have your say on that process if you think this is an idea worth exploring. Sharing some other images here, you can see this is from ERA's work with the Heritage Conservation District of Picton Main Street. And then where there's Picton Main Street, and then here's Delhi Park. And the park is separate from the Heritage District, but in my mind, it's just as much of a Heritage District as Picton Main Street. Some images when we were looking at the outline of the Picton dump and understanding how it mirrors the park boundary, and some timeline information there. And then this map we thought was so interesting because this is a map of where the different dumping sites were in the park. And really, the pathways have not changed much. So these desire lines that I spoke about really have happened over and over generations. This, I don't know if you can read any of this, but it's a list that we found in our research of all the items suspected to be in the dump, like items from the canning industry, farm elements. You can imagine it's not any hazardous waste. It's just domestic waste and remnants of the businesses that used to operate around the harbor. Okay. The 7-month community engagement process was led by Ashley Stewart of Community Services with the county and funded through Infrastructure Canada. It involved months of site discovery and research to learn about the park's history, the paths and entrances, as I mentioned, and over 70 hours of consultation. And there's definitely appetite for change. So this public survey, I don't know if any of you participated in our research, but we got some amazing feedback, and sharing some slides here with quotes on it. A natural refuge. Can you read this text from where you're sitting on the photos? Sure. You want to pick one to read?
I walked through the park to get from Main Street to Macaulay Park, but I wish it was easier to get around the park to Macaulay House and up to the heights. And then the other one says, a natural refuge right in downtown Picton, enhancing the residents' manner of living. Increased growth and traffic flow impacts Delhi Park's natural areas and may need to be considered in the future.
Thanks, Raj. So just what I'm sharing is it was quite an extensive process. We got some great feedback. Here in the images, you can see the existing paths and how they are right now and how they are not, they are only welcoming to a certain percentage of the population. Like, can you imagine going in a wheelchair down here or pushing a stroller down these paths? You can see they're very used, but they're only used by a certain kind of percentage of population. So our work was about how to upgrade all these paths so more people could use them and get through the park. This is the path down the slope at the Toboggan Hill at Mary Street. Here crossing through the wooded area into Glenwood. So many beautiful spaces and trails. And then out of this process of talking to people and presenting our work consistently to the task teams at the county, we developed a list of design principles. Connect all of Picton ridge to ridge. Make it safe, accessible, and welcoming for all. Keep it natural, honor Marsh Creek. Explore a typology of design approaches, tell the story and celebrate place, and set the stage for experiences. And these we set as principles to lead us into the design process of how we were going to approach the work. And this also really we did this map showing Delhi Park as this center connector space and how people, if the pathways were to be upgraded, how you could imagine moving, say, from the Heights to Giant Tiger, say base 31 to the high school, from Glenwood out to the bay, like this whole connected space. Delhi Park is the center of it and can be this green space, piece of green infrastructure, essentially, to make all this connectivity happen. And then here's the final map, the final pathway map that's very detailed. There's a lot going on here, but the thing to point out that I want to point out is the area highlighted in purple. Purple that we studied and was approved by council and our task team to be the phase 1. So this is proposed as a phase 1 to address the Heights community, which has had generations of social and economic neglect and needs to come more into this into the town. And we propose that this pathway is the way to connect them so that they don't need a car, it's accessible, getting from, we call it Mac to Main Street. So Macaulay Village to Main Street, Picton. And that's 1.5 kilometers. So it's not a long trail. It looks convoluted here because we're navigating slopes. But it can be done, and we designed it to be done. It's just not funded right now. Unless you have a car or physically able, Delhi Park is actually a barrier right now to getting around town. You have to drive to Lawler Street. You have to drive around the park. You have to drive across Bridge Street to get. And this plan is a way to use, like, that you can bike around, you can walk around, linking the natural areas around it, existing and future communities, and all the cultural and commercial services can all be connected through this vision. So just to end, I wanted to, and I'm happy to answer questions about any of that work. I wanted to show one part of the plan that is Macaulay Village Park, that is up on the Heights. And it's a park that we've been working on for the past couple of years with the Learning Center and with the neighborhood group there to upgrade the park. We've been planting trees. We planted a Miyawaki forest this year. We built a shade structure and we upgraded the playground. Well, this is all with tons of other people, not just me. And now there's a place for shade in the shade structure. This is one of our public meetings. Department of Illumination uses it for their art kitchen. But there's a lot more to be done here. There's no accessible path leading to Picton through the park, so we'd like to do that. And there's also no lighting. So the image on the right is what the post, when people go to their post box on a week in November, you know, when it gets dark at 5 o'clock, the image on the right is what it looks like for people to get mail there. So there's no light at the parking lot, which is the image on the left, at London Ave. And that is the parking lot that is right beside the park. So children can't play safely in the park. Teens can't hang out safely, or maybe they go there anyway in the dark, probably. But imagine going to get, the thing that really struck me, imagine going to get your mail and feeling unsafe. And the photo on the right is last week, Wednesday night at 6:15. So people are getting home from work, wanting to get their mail. That's in pitch black darkness. So we wanted to, I want to just point that out, some of the needs that exist there. And then finally, just to end, as Raj mentioned at the beginning, to help galvanize the community and raise awareness and keep connecting ideas and what's happening around Delhi Park, I started this Facebook page and designed a bag, which I meant to bring today. So we're just trying to think of fun ways to bring more eyes into this park space. And obviously, we're going to need everyone's help to do this. And happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.